Hi folks, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to go over an idea that I've been having lately. The news today has been talking about police in high schools and whether that's appropriate or sends the right message to the faculty, the students, and the community at large. And there's been greater questions over the last couple of years that I've seen where police response during mental health crisis intervention has resulted in injury either to the police or injury to the person themselves, with some more striking cases, such as maybe Sami Yatim in Toronto, or various different problems that you see down in the U.S. And arguably, the police shouldn't be involved in these type of things. We have 911 as systems set up in North America. When you call because you're in crisis, the dispatch will give you three options. They'll ask you if you need police, fire, or ambulance. And what I'm arguing is that there needs to be a fourth option. There needs to be emergency mental health technicians. So a dedicated group of people, not unlike paramedics, but rather than dealing with body systems, they deal with people in crisis. They deal with people that may be suicidal, maybe on a psychotic break, maybe having some reaction to a medication or an overdose or something to that effect, where they're not in their proper frame of mind. This is not a criminal event. Involving somebody in this event that carries a gun is a bad idea. Nobody wants to call the police on their grandmother who's having a crisis due to their Alzheimer's, let's say. They don't want a situation where all of a sudden uniforms are showing up at the door from police cruisers that have lights and sirens and a whole barrage of different sensory elements that, especially if you've got somebody with autism or something like that, that's a huge problem. Running into the scene screaming at somebody to comply, that escalates a situation right off the bat. Now, I'll give the hats off to the OPP in our province. They have done quite a lot of studies. They've done an awful lot of mental health measures. Had a little bit of involvement with them in working with them over their mental health strategy a couple of years ago. The police officers, they're good people. And I'm a little bit weary of seeing good people getting post-traumatic stress disorder because they had to pull a gun or they had to fire upon somebody who wasn't in their right mind, couldn't make the proper decisions, and couldn't comply with orders. No police officer wants to do that, I'm pretty sure. And those events aren't criminal events to me. What I'm saying is it's more appropriate to have a fourth body of emergency medical technicians that will show up in a regular car, plain clothes, in pairs, that are professionally trained nonviolent crisis interventionists. I've been a trained NVCI fellow for probably about the past 30 years. I've had a lot of instances over that time where people have been in crisis or pulled a weapon on me. I have very, very rarely been injured in any way in those crises because I have that training and I know how to approach those people in order to not exacerbate a situation. It's just not the case with police. They have a whole other mandate, and that's what I mean. We need to have a dedicated group of professionals that their mandate is exclusively mental health. I think every town needs that. Having a ride-along mental health crisis team that comes along with actual police and their cruisers doesn't help. You still get the cruisers, you still get the threat of gun, the use of force, those kind of things that we as nonviolent crisis interventionalists, we would never even think of. We're thinking about the care, welfare, safety, and support of the person in crisis. A police officer is thinking about the welfare of everybody else and themselves. What we need is somebody that is able to step in and help, able to connect somebody to the resources that they need in order to get the help that they are so desperately needing to have. A lot of people don't know which way to turn. People like me, in my capacity, we are connectors of people to services and supports throughout the area. I deal in a very special area of developmental disabilities, but I'm proposing that all developmental disabilities, all mental health, that all be taken into account in a comprehensive training program from a college or a university for accreditation, not unlike paramedics would be. That'll keep everybody safe. Now, how is it going to be paid for? Well, in 2007, there were about 6,300 police calls that were related to mental health. Moving up to 2013, I think we got that up to about 12,700. And the police themselves have noted that the processing time has risen by about 65%, which is costing us as taxpayers a huge amount of money in wages and time, and not to mention the fact that the people that are there to serve and protect aren't on the streets because they've got an awful lot of paperwork to do. Now that paperwork, that time, all of that costs money. That money and that time can be applied to the new program, can be applied to training new paramedics, emergency mental health paramedics. Almost dollar for dollar, you could fund a whole fourth type of emergency medical service. And I think that that would answer an awful lot of questions about the propriety of police being involved in any type of these situations. So what I'm really asking for is, do you agree with this? I know we're looking at about 7.5 minutes I've been talking now, so I'm sorry about that. I know Facebook, we're probably lose everybody at 2 minutes, but I think this is an important issue. And I mean, that being said, that type of shift, that mental shift, we can band-aid solution it all we want, and lots of people have tried, but I think it really behooves us to take a second look at the way we deliver services in the province, in the country, various police agencies around the world, and we need to take the lead as a progressive country to say that a mental health crisis is not a crime. We do not need to call the police for a mental health crisis because we have an alternative. And an alternative that would be caring and supportive and not escalate a situation to the point where we lose some of the people we care about when they're having the hardest day of their lives. So, having said all that and rambled on and on about it to you, I just want to see whether or not you agree with it. And if you agree, if you could like or share this, and maybe we can get a little bit of traction behind it. I'd really like to speak to some folks in Queen's Park about this, because I think that the cost savings to other emergency services could directly fund a fourth emergency service for mental health. So if you agree with me, like it, share it, pass it along, and thank you for your time.